Hi, welcome to my channel where we question everything. Now, if you guys notice, I've been doing a couple of videos where I explicitly stated my disagreements with some episodes presented by the Duran, Brian Berletic, Andrei Martinov, some of the Scott Ritter, and I think that's about it that I sort of always disagree with. Alexander Mercurius and Alex, I don't know what his surname is. And you might wonder why I do this. And therefore the topic of today's video is why I disagree and what's my sources. Well, I think that's going to be the ending. But in any case, I want to discuss basically on why I disagree with these people. Well, firstly, I am not a pro-Western one, because whatever those guys are, they're so brainwashed that they can't really form any arguments. And whatever they try to do is subject to the fake news that is constantly being distributed by the mainstream media. But there are some sources that are okay. That's why, because I watch these guys' videos, I'm a follower of their channels, and most of the stuff they say I do agree with. It's not that I totally agree with. I only would disagree with the narratives of the videos that I specifically mentioned in the videos that I made. And it is not to downgrade those people. Some of them make a lot of effort, some of them have sound arguments, and they do have a huge knowledge. And I do not discourage you of not watching their videos. So go watch them. They make up your own mind, but you cannot always agree with everything that they say. And then the third item I usually say is that if you are friends at the barbecue, do you always agree with your friends? Or do we sometimes there's disagreements, which I actually discussed when I had some communications with Andrei from the Seika. And unfortunately, after that event, I realized that the pro-Russians are very similar to the Western commentators in terms of narratives and living in a bubble and having a cancel culture, etc., etc., etc. So I would like to tell you about how it usually works. I have found out that most of the times, 99.9%, I do read the same articles and the commentators I did mention. So I know what stands in those articles. And I do know what's going on there about that. Because we all have the same type of sources. And as I was also explaining in my previous videos, we talked about where do the media get its source information from. Yes, they have reporters on the ground, the bigger companies. Then we have bloggers that are on the ground. And then we have Reuters that has a huge network of information. But the news media does the same thing, basically what everybody of us do. They read the information, they get the information from other sources, not from your own, being your own journalist on the ground and asking the questions to whoever the leaders are, or visiting the sites of the events, or whatever you want to call them. If we talk about that, then we usually refer to a news article we either read in the New York Times, Financial Times, heard it on CNN, or other news media. And then we report, and where do they get it? They get it from bloggers and from their own sources. But they're again referring to other people's articles. So, but by the time you read all these things, the information is probably like, usually you say secondhand. It means somebody told you the story. Now in this case, with somebody told somebody, told somebody, told somebody, told somebody, told somebody's story, until finally you heard it. And as we know how the Bush telegraph works, where you have a row of people sitting in a row, and you whisper a message into the first guy, he passes on to the next guy, the guy next to it, and then the last guy stands up and tells you what the message is, and then we all know, hey, that's not what the original message was. And that is how, in any case, history works. It's usually a narrative that has been conveyed over centuries, and every time there's a little bit of a modification, a little bit of adaptation, and that's one of the reasons I don't believe in history, or I don't trust history. So I would like to tell you what I am actually doing. Now, I'm not sure if you can view it. I know there are problems with that, but the biggest source, in my opinion, at this stage for the pro-Russian people is RT.com. RT.com publishes a lot of articles each day. And what they do is they naturally source their information from Western sources or other sources. Remember the Bush telegraph? So even if, say, Alex McGovern refers to a specific speech and so on, he read it in the New York Times, I probably read that same article on RT.com because RT referenced that New York article. That's why I know that most of the times they read the same articles that I do, because I don't stop at the article. I go read the original article as well. And I do a Google and then I read more. But RT.com is a good source to get all the access to all the articles and all the links and all the headings of all the news across the Western world. So that's why I said we all listen and read these same articles. And then the second most important source is a show on RT called Crosstalk with Peter Lavelle. Now, Peter Lavelle has been in this game and done probably a crosstalk for the last 17 years. Well, that's what he always said when he was banned from YouTube. He said 17 years of work down the drain when they cancelled him on YouTube. And what Peter always does in Crosstalk, he invites specialists from around the world. And the best one is usually on the Monday. The show's on the Monday and the Wednesday and the Friday. But the best one is on the Monday because that's the home edition. In the home editions, he talks to two guys. And then those two guys, he discusses it. Yes, I know Peter is sometimes pushing the narrative, his own narrative. And he tries to drive in the direction that he likes to go in. Got no problem with that. That's what an anchor does. And sometimes you have acknowledged it, and then you look past it, and you go look for yourself a different source if you really want it. But I've been watching Crosstalk for a long, long time, like many, many, many years. And if I have to compare the commentators or the guests that he argues, yes, Alex McGovern was also on there, but I don't see him anymore. But none of the guys I'm referring I disagree with are actually on the show. And the guys that are on that show are really pros. Those are the guys that know their stuff, that are fully informed, and have good narratives, and good analysis, and good views. So, I would just like to mention some names. Now, I will list the names in the description. And if you can find videos of them, I urge you to go and watch their videos. These are the guys that know what they are talking about. Much better than a Duran, or the new Atlas, or even the Andrei Martyanov, which unfortunately, I'm starting to get irritated with him. He brings nothing to the game, and he just blames and badmouths everybody else. Well, that's it. So, just for instance, Peter Lavelle has a podcast with this George Szamuely. He's a Greek, I believe. I'm not totally sure. Unfortunately, their podcasts are behind a paywall, I think on locals, if I understand correctly. But it doesn't matter. He's very often on the home edition. And I like George's analysis. And it talks a hell of a lot of sense. So he's one of my favorites. Then sometimes he comes off with a Russian guy who sits in Moscow, I believe, Maxim Suchkov. Another brilliant guy. Very much open-minded. Talks a hell of a lot of sense. Again, one of my big favorites. Then there's a Norwegian, Glen Diesen, from Norway. Also, I actually saw a video with him interviewing Douglas, what's it, Colonel Douglas McGregor or something like that. And, well, when he talks on Crosstalk, he's very fluent and it's easy because he knows what he's talking. But then he had to be the anchor interviewing Douglas McGregor. And now you have to control the narrative and you have to ask the questions and you have to do the video. And trust me, that is not easy. No, it's difficult to do it. And, well, unfortunately, the view you get is not that impressive. But on Crosstalk, when he talks about the subject, I'm gonna find fault. And then my next favorite guy is John Laughland. He sits in Paris. He always goes against the grain of Peter. But when he argues, his argument is full of knowledge, full of insight, and I actually like his narrative. But unfortunately, he's not that often off. I wish he would have made a lot more videos because I like his narrative. He's really a good guy. And then we have a journalist, Martin J. Apparently he sits in Morocco. But he's a British guy or American guy, I don't know. I don't know why he's in Morocco. I don't know, maybe stays there. But another guy with incredible information and insight and so on. And then we have another Russian called Dmitry Babich. It's also a long-time guest on Crosstalk. Now, these are the guys that I mostly enjoy talking to. But the followings are also very knowledgeable, but they are less often. So I sometimes hear them. They are not always available. But like I said, if you get a video of them on YouTube talking to somebody else, I would highly recommend it. The one is called Ralph Niemeyer. Then there's a guy called Vladimir Golstein, a Gilbert Doctorow, a James Jatras, Ray McGovern, very well known, Daniel Lazare, Jean Bricmont, and then a French guy, unfortunately sometimes difficult to understand, is Xavier Moreau. And then our friend Larry Johnson. Always worth to go and watch them and listen to them. So in my opinion, unfortunately, these guys I named is not the whole list. I only went back about 7 episodes. There are a lot more. But Crosstalk per se is a worthwhile show. If you can't watch it, get a VPN or get an open proxy or whatever. Or do some other plan, but you can reach the site if you really want it. But comparing them to the guys that I usually disagree with, they are in a different class. And then actually you can go to Russian websites. They are too numerous to look, but sometimes difficult. But I use Firefox, and Firefox as an add-on where it does automatically translation of web pages. And then you can activate it, and when you get a Russian page or a Polish page, whatever you want to see, it can automatically translate it to you in English. The problem is just go searching for these things, a website. But once you get it from other articles, the references, then you have that source as well. And then you have the Telegram channel. And if you have the mobile Telegram installed on your mobile, it also has a translation function. But again, you have to join the necessary channels, and unfortunately, that is the difficult part. But again, once you start reading some Russians' websites, they talk about telegrams, and then they tell you what the name of the telegram channel is. And then you can join a telegram, and then if you double click on certain Russian points, it gives you a translation in English. Very helpful. So there are a lot of sources available. I'm not going to list them. I don't know, I probably have 20 tabs open on the browser, which I read every day. That's open tabs that I read every time. Some of them I don't watch anymore because I've realized that I cannot agree with that. I do watch, like I said, all the guys I criticize, but it's in a friendly way that I criticize them. Don't misunderstand that. So I thought I will reveal my sources and why I disagree with people. And if you read these sources, then you will make similar type of conclusions. But again, the RT and RT.com and Crosstalk, invaluable resources. And the guys that are on Peter Lavelle show excellent narratives. People that know what they are doing. In any case, that's my story for today. So subscribe to the channel. Don't subscribe. Spread the link. Don't spread it. It's your choice. And until next time, cheers.